Hello my friends and welcome back to the rabbit hole. So, you may notice some shifting around in our background. Quick story time and I promise you we'll get into this video. So for reasons that may be revealed in a matter of days, I was considering trashing my Style Vana advent calendar from 2021. Yes, that is what's behind me. It's been going for a full year at this point and it was starting to get a little bit droopy, just a little bit. I mean, it is cardboard. It's actually ridiculously impressive that I managed to repurpose it and have it serve its purpose for a full year. But then, right as I was about to get rid of it, I had a thought. What if I flipped the whole thing upside down? Look at this. It fixed all the problems. Everything is sitting perfectly. It's great. And I've still got the peach out front for those of you who would miss it otherwise. I have done some rearranging. The Stradia is now in my bathroom, but hey, I'm wearing the Stradia hoodie to make up for it. Anyway, we've got a really fun video planned for today. I received a request from the lovely April who asked for a video on skincare that you don't need. And I just couldn't help but think that could be really fun. That could be a really fun video. I'm gonna do it in true Alice fashion. Don't worry, you will understand what I mean once we get into this video. I am very much of the opinion that whatever works for you, and you should keep doing it. So this is typically the type of video that's a little difficult for me to do. But I'm still gonna do it. I've got some bullet points to talk about today that I think most of you might agree with. So let's go ahead and get started with my first point, which is you don't need to buy every opinion out there. What a tough place to start this video, and yet this is the exact reason I was saying I don't make videos like this too often, because there is a great irony in this, and that is this entire video is my opinion. That's comedy gold. That is truly, truly hilarious. The thing is, what I've noticed in years and years of following skincare content is that so often opinions are presented as fact, and this can get into some really dangerous territory. This is both that territory where you hear what you're not supposed to use. You know, don't use fragranced products, don't use anything containing trace amounts of denatured alcohol, and then you think, oh gosh, I gotta go throw away half of my skincare and replace it with products without those ingredients. And then on the other side, you hear, oh, you absolutely have to be using these incredible ingredients. You know, for example, I love vitamin C, right? Not everybody needs to use vitamin C, but imagine if you thought that you did, then you would have to add in this extra product and ingredient into your routine. You know what, actually, let me give you an example of why I like to frame things as opinion rather than conflate opinion and fact. It actually goes back to Paula's Choice. I get this question in my comments all the time where people ask me, why don't you talk that much about the Paula's Choice brand? It seems to be, you know, a very beloved brand for many. There's a lot of content creators who love that brand. Why do you not? I actually do like Paula's Choice, but I was present for a situation that happened with the brand. You see, Paula's Choice belongs to Paula Bagoon, who was honestly kind of the first skincare influencer. Back in a time where you would print books rather than create videos, and she had a lot of opinions, and I think that her advice was pretty good overall. It certainly was helpful for people with more sensitive skin types. She was one of the OGs to say, don't use fragrance and alcohol in products. And she also said you don't need eye creams. So for years and years, Paula's Choice, and Beautypedia were all saying you don't need to buy these separate eye creams, you just don't need them, use a moisturizer around your eye area. And then, a few years later, something happened where the Paula's Choice brand, by Paula, came out with eye cream. And I will never forget the reaction of the community. It was so confused. It was all these people going, wait, we followed your advice for years. You have said you don't need eye cream, but you just released an eye cream. So is it that we don't need an eye cream or we do? The core problem with everything going on here was that eye cream is optional. It's always been optional. Some people enjoy them. Some people find that it reduces milia for them to use a product that is specifically designed for the eye area, but that will never be the case for every person. There will always be people who do great with regular moisturizer around their eye area, and there will always be the opposite. I have definitely seen Beautypedia do this with all kinds of ingredients. I remember their original reviews of the Ordinary brand where they said that the problem with the Ordinary's products was that they contained too few ingredients. Does anyone remember that? Fans of The Ordinary were so upset. And again, like the eye cream scenario, what was going on is that you are free to have the opinion that, you want more than one ingredient in a product, but you're also free to have the opinion that you don't. At the end of the day, what I would say is to always keep in mind that most of what you hear about skincare is going to be opinion. And if you ever feel that, you're really conflicted, you're just not sure what you are supposed to be doing with your own skin, at the end of the day, the best advice will always be to see a doctor or a dermatologist in person so that they can actually give you customized advice for you. And just treat everything else like opinion. Yeah, everything that I say on this channel, every review that you read, it's all opinion. Point number 2 on my list is products you can't afford. Did anyone have this on your bingo card? You knew I was going to say this one. As I've said in many past videos, at the end of the day, what is most important in creating your skincare routine is that you are going to be consistent with it. Being consistent with much more affordable products is always going to give you better results than being inconsistent with products you can't afford. Not only that, but I do have a lot of mixed opinions when it comes to expensive products. On one hand, especially because I'm somebody who shops sales a lot, as you all know, I can honestly say that I do like getting certain expensive products. I mean, we just talked about the Perricone MD brand. I'm sorry, I do love it, but I would never pay full price for it. And yet there's other products on the market that are just really, in my opinion, expensive for absolutely no reason. We'll get to this one later. I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, I think there's some products just carry a high price tag, and I can't even really tell you why. I guess the name sometimes. I truly think the name. Chanel skincare, Dior skincare, it's the name. And let me tell you something else. In 2022, we have such good, affordable products on the market, such that in a lot of cases, I truly think you might have better results with inexpensive products than expensive products. My best example here, hands down, is Adapalene. I'm really sorry if I ever turn into a broken record on the topic of Adapalene, but I truly can never put into words how much that $30 La Roche-Posay product, still not convinced there's much of a difference between La Roche-Posay's, Adapalene, and Difference. But that $30 product has done more for my skin than products that, take some of these really expensive retinol products rather. It's night and day. And the best results come from the affordable product. I think it's easy to fall into this mindset that just because something is more expensive, it's better, but I can tell you firsthand that it's just not always true. And while you might end up trying some expensive products that you end up loving, at the end of the day, I think the advice still stands to always stay within your limits. Just don't ever buy things that are outside of what you can afford, because you're not going to get better results by doing that. And in a very similar vein, I would also say products that you won't use. You know I'm talking about devices, right? Now listen, I love my skincare tools, my skincare devices. I love them and I use them all the time, but as you all know, I also read my comments, I also read reviews from other people, and let me tell you, the amount of negative reviews that I read on tools and devices is pretty high. And those negative reviews always have a bit of a similar theme. They go something like this: I spent a lot of money on this tool or device. It took a lot of time out of my day to use this, which I didn't enjoy. And then I didn't see any results. Well, I always question those last two, because if you didn't enjoy using the tool, were you consistent with it? Again, like our second point, consistency is so important. And this is something that is just so personal, and it's something that only you know. If you drop all of this money on these tools or devices, are you going to use them? See, I do. I really enjoy my skincare routine. I get into it. I spend a lot of time doing my skincare routine, and it is not time that I regret. It is time that I deeply enjoy. But I know that's not the case for everybody. And there is nothing wrong with saying, actually, yeah, I don't really like doing my skincare routine. I kind of just want to get it over with. But if you are that kind of person, I don't know if any tool or device is going to be a good fit for you. See how complex skincare is? It's really not just about figuring out your own skin type, what ingredients work for you, but also knowing yourself in terms of how you are going to use products. What an absolute curveball that nobody was expecting. There's just so many elements that go into this. And then point 4, which I think was also on your bingo card, too much, just too much. I've said it before, and I will say it again, don't shop like a YouTuber. I think about this a lot because sometimes I venture outside of the skincare community. For example, I was on the subreddit anti-consumption the other day. I might have been setting myself up for failure with that one. And they absolutely had a post about how scammy everything skincare is. Oh gosh, the comments, y'all. One of the commenters said that the solution to all skin problems, to all of them, according to Dr. Redditor here, was you just need to drink 16 ounces of water every hour. Throw away all your skincare, 16 ounces of water every hour. I couldn't help but read that and think, well, you know, if you do die from water intoxication, I guess that will solve your skin issues. But at the same time, I do understand where that comes from. You know, there are a lot of kind of predatory ideas in the skincare community. I'm not gonna lie about it, there absolutely are. There's a lot of products on display, more than the average person could possibly use. So I think it's important to compartmentalize that what we are trying to do, those of us who create skincare content, and I genuinely mean this, I want to test products so that I can give you good reviews so that I can help you actually buy less, not more. But it is something that can be kind of hard to see on the outside. Another example of this. So I've been watching more of the fragrance community lately, admittedly mostly because I am just dying to know what happened to Jeremy Fragrance. Can anyone give me a TLDR? What happened to that man? It is perplexing. And you know, I watch some videos, so then YouTube starts recommending me more. You know how it goes. And I started clicking some of these fragrance reviews, and the amount of bottles behind these people, this looks like nothing. It looks like nothing. Just shelves and shelves and bottles, and you know some of these fragrance products cost $400 a bottle. I was just over here thinking, oh my goodness, what on earth can one person do with all of that fragrance? And then I realized, you might be being hypocritical, Alice. I think I might think about this one more than the average person because, you know, not only do I consume a fair bit of content, but how does anti-consumption feel about that? But I also did study psychology, that was my undergraduate degree, so I do think about how, you know, what you see, it does act as kind of modeling for how you think that your life should be, and so when you do consume, those of us that make this content, it's hard not to feel like, well, they have 20 sunscreens, then I too need 20 sunscreens. I guess what I'm saying is I think it's important for those of us that make content to at least occasionally reiterate that we have more than the average person could ever need. It is for a purpose, and that purpose isn't for you to feel that you need as much. That purpose is for you to buy more wisely. This brings us to my final point, and I want to say, before we get into this, this is where I could get some flack. So I ask of you, if you have stayed this far in this video, please stay to hear the end of this conversation rather than form an opinion prematurely. All right, so this point is doctor-owned and recommended products. Always, always. My intention with this one is actually to tie this one into the too much point. So I'm sure you all have noticed how much dermatologists are actually making content, it's pretty great to see. I really personally like and follow a lot of dermatologists myself. However, they do give a lot of product recommendations, and I think that it's really easy to start thinking that you have to buy almost everything they recommend. I just feel like it's a lot easier to talk yourself into those purchases than it is when, somebody like, say, James Welsh makes product recommendations, where he's just a skincare enthusiast, just like myself. Again, it's always important to keep in mind that you can have too many products, you do only have one face, and at the end of the day, no responsible dermatologist would recommend that you have, 20 steps in your skincare routine. And along with this, and this is actually where things get the most tricky, I have noticed a lot of doctor-owned brands popping up, and I have a lot of mixed feelings about some of them. So we've talked a lot about Barbara Sturm on this channel. Oh, Barb. I was, for whatever reason, torturing myself by listening to some of her videos talking about why she came out with her brand. And one of these videos, I always have YouTube playing while I'm doing housework, right? We've talked about this. So I had her on just talking about her brand, and at one point in this video, she says that she had to come out with this face cream moisturizer because she just couldn't find a good moisturizer. I was mid-doing dishes, I had to stop myself from throwing a plate at my phone. I'm going, you couldn't find a good moisturizer? I have tried hundreds of moisturizers, and off the top of my head, I can name 50 that qualify as good. What were you doing wrong? Did you stop looking after trying a mere 2 moisturizers? Were you like, remember those 90s infomercials where you would always see people just struggling at the most basic tasks? Is that what you looked like trying moisturizers? You just ended up putting them all over your hair instead and then said, nope, it's not a good moisturizer. Listen, good moisturizers exist at all price points, but you don't ever need to pay $225 because a foot doctor said that she couldn't find any good moisturizers. You just don't. And while this is tough territory, keep in mind that other doctors would probably agree with me on this one. For example, Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre has a very different approach to skincare, which I think makes sense because she seems to be much more of a clinical dermatologist in her training, which means she recommends drugstore products, which is what other clinical dermatologists would also recommend. Meanwhile, Dr. Sturm calls herself an aesthetics doctor, which is helpful if you do happen to break your aesthetics. But as such, it seems to mean that she does make more expensive products than, again, every person needs or can afford. My bottom line with this most difficult of sections that I'm trying to cover here is there is a fallacy. Oh, she's got the psychology out again. There is a fallacy called the appeal to authority fallacy, and basically it says that, you default to the advice of experts in all situations, and the difficulty with this is that you can end up with conflicting opinions. Again, Dr. Dre versus Dr. Sturm, right? Which I think is why even with doctor-owned and recommended products, it's important to still ask those questions that I started this video out with. Do you really need it? Can you really afford it? Because again, and I'm not wrong on this, if you bought every product that was recommended by a doctor on the internet, you would go bankrupt. You would. Well, that's it for today's video. I hope this was fun. I hope this answers your question, April, even though, again, I did do it in my very Alice way. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you all next time.